Hi guys, Pete the Wargamer here, back with another painting tutorial. This time I'll be showing you how to paint a 1/100 scale Sherman tank like those found in the brand new Flames of War Hit the Beach and Fury starter sets, and I'll be using the Vallejo range of paints to do so. Before we start painting, we first of all need to apply a primer so that the later layers of paint adhere to the miniature's surface. For this step, I've chosen to use Vallejo's olive drab spray, as we not only achieve the primer, but we also have the base colour for the later steps. Alternatively, you could use a grey primer and apply the olive drab with a regular brush if you don't have access to this spray. For our first step, we want to pick out the raised edges of the tank using some Khaki, and the best way to do this is with a dry brush. Dry brushing involves loading up a fairly large brush with some paint and removing some of the excess onto a tissue or a piece of paper until only a small amount of paint remains in the bristles. With your dry brush ready, lightly drag it across the whole miniature. The paint will start to accumulate onto the hard edges, leaving only a thin line of the Khaki. As you can see, this is a very quick and easy step to perform. With the base colour of the tank achieved, we next want to focus on some of the smaller details. However, before we can apply the paint, we first need to thin it down. This can be achieved by mixing in water with your paint in roughly equal parts water to paint until you have a consistency similar to what you see here. For the step, I'll be using chocolate brown and applying it over the metal track links at the sides. This dark brown will give the tracks a slightly rusted appearance that we can build upon later in the tutorial. Across the tank, there are several areas of dark metal and rubber. These will include some of the secondary weapons, along with the tow cables and other stowage items, as well as the rubber tracks and road wheels trim. We want to apply a base coat of German grey to all of these areas, thinning the paint in the same way as before. This dark grey colour will allow us to benefit from a black wash later on, something that a pure black wouldn't. Next, we'll be painting any wooden areas such as the tool handles with the base coat of German Camo medium brown. Now that the base camouflage colour has been completed, I would suggest applying your decals now. That way, any details or weathering that was applied to the tanks will cover these markings too. I've covered this process in depth previously, but in short, apply a gloss varnish to the target area, and while you wait for it to dry, cut out and soak your decal in some water. When the decal starts to pull away from the backing paper, add the decal over the top of the gloss varnish, wait for this to dry, and seal it in place with some more gloss varnish. This technique will help to reduce the ghosting effect that can often occur around these decals. With all of the base coats completed, we can now start to apply some washes. These are great for adding and boosting the visibility of details as they will flow into the recessed areas and create the appearance of shadows. The first wash we'll be applying in this way is Sepia Wash, but straight out of the pot it'll be a little too strong, so we first need to water it down a little. Mix water into your wash until you have a consistency similar to what you see here. With your wash thinned, we next want to apply it across the entirety of the armour on our Sherman and also over any wooden detailing. Ensure that you get a good even coverage of the wash over the surface and don't apply too much at any one time. Once dried, you'll find that those small details will stand out much more than they did before, and the tank will also have a slightly dirty appearance as well. The next wash to apply is black wash, thinned in the same manner as before. This time we'll be applying it in two ways. The first is an all-over wash to the German grey details and tracks. The second method is much more localized and targeted application of the wash. Using a fairly small brush, I'll be directly applying some of the black wash into some of the details on the hull. By darkening down certain details such as hatches, hinges and panels, it will make the shadows look deeper. This will result in the illusion that these details are more pronounced than they actually are, helping to improve the realism of the model. Using the same dry brushing technique that we used earlier, we next want to apply some German grey to apply some paint chips to the surface of our tank. We want to lightly drag the brush along the surfaces of the tank and focus on some of the hard edges where damage would likely occur. This will create some flecks of dark grey that will have the appearance of paint damage. The next step is to add some light dust and rain marks to the tank. To do this, I'll be using some heavily watered down Iraqi Sand. We want a consistency similar to that of a wash. With this watered down Iraqi Sand, paint some vertical lines down the sides of the tank. Once dried, we will have the effect of rainwater that has run down the side of the tank, removing the dust and dirt that is accumulated. The final step is to add some of the metallic paint oily steel to the stowage items that we base coated with German grey earlier. Using this paint, we want to carefully apply it along only the edges. A thin brush will help with this. This edge highlighting technique will complete that dark metallic appearance. Once those smaller details have been picked out, we can next apply a dry brush of oily steel over the links of the tank tracks. If you do overspill onto the rubber areas, don't worry, as these can be cleaned up with some more German grey. And here we have the completed Sherman. Now, whilst I focus on a Sherman tank, you could easily apply the same colours and techniques to other US vehicles in the European theatre as well. For this tutorial, I took a lot of inspiration from the Colours of War book recently released to accompany Flames of War. It provides in-depth paint guides that cover an extensive range of World War II and Cold War era infantry and vehicles from multiple nations, eras and theatres. It's definitely worth checking out and is a great reference point for modern history wargamers. You can find a full list of all the paints that I've used in this tutorial in the description below, along with any other equipment that I've used to create this video. If you enjoyed this video, please do let me know in the comments below, and be sure to subscribe to be kept up to date with all of my latest videos. And so, the only thing left to say is, thanks for watching, and goodbye.